guys, so today I'm here to do my December wrap up where I managed to read 8 books and actually achieve my Goodreads goal for like once in my life. That I generally never complete my Goodreads goals. Like since 2015 I've done it 3 times. Like generally I give myself a goal, I don't reach it, I feel shit about it, but then I continue on with my life because what can you do if you don't read enough books? Nothing really. But at the start of the month when I was 8 books behind, I was like, I can do this, and I did do it. I'm very proud of myself, and yes, I picked a lot of smaller books. I read a graphic novel. I made it so that it was easy on myself. I wouldn't have been able to read like 3 500-page books, but for what I have read and what I achieved, I'm really proud of it. And in 2023 I am hoping that I will manage to get to just as much reading. Like I know at the start of the year and a few of the months in between there I only read like 3 books, so I'm hoping that maybe like each month if I can read at least 5, I'll be proud of that. But let's get into what I read and talk about all the books that I really enjoyed this month. So the first book I read, which was an audiobook, was Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I did read most of this book in November and I finished this on the 1st of December. So technically this was last month's reading, but I always count when I finish the book as the month that it's been read in because you completed the book in that month. That's how it works in my brain. But this was the last book on my free Audible trial. I have now cancelled that subscription because I'm still happy to use Scribd because I have so many audiobooks saved there, and I just feel like with Audible, even though it was like a good idea and a really easy system to use and there was a lot of features that I liked about it, it's just easier having the free reign of listening to as much as I want in a month, and I don't have to then wait another month to get another free trial. Like I just like it way better. But Carrie Soto is Back definitely had to be one of my favorite books that I've read from her this year. Like I know that I read them all in quite quick succession, and technically I've read her books 4 times this year because Daisy Jones and the Six I did read twice. But we met Carrie Soto in Malibu Rising and we got to see her character, but from the perspective of a woman who was very sad that her husband cheated on her with a pro tennis player. So we didn't really get to understand Carrie in her own soul. But Carrie Soto is an awful person. She is not likable. She never does the right thing, and she thinks that she's the best in the world at what she does, and she expects everyone to fall at her feet. Like that is her whole personality. But she is such a compassionate person and she loves her father so much, and she just loves the game. And also the way that the losses really bring her down so intensely, and then for someone else to then come in and take her title of being the biggest Grand Slam winner in all of women's tennis at the time really cut her deeply. That she's come back in, she's like, I'm gonna win this title back, I'm gonna fight for what is mine. And just the way that she is such an underdog, and even though she never makes the right decision and she's just awful, you root for her to win. Every time before one of the big tournaments, because there's 4 that she goes into, I was on the edge of my seat because I just wanted her to win. But also coming in as a 37-year-old tennis player, you know it's probably not likely for her to be able to win a Grand Slam after not playing for so long, but seeing how determined she was and how she fought so much, like I enjoyed this book so much, and I'm so glad that I finally got to it. And I need my mum to read it because she's a big tennis fanatic, and I just can't wait for her to experience and enjoy it as well. Then I got my pre-order of Olympus Volume 3 and I read it as soon as I took it out of the package because I am so excited. And again, the slow burn is actively killing me slowly because I haven't had to read a book series with a slow burn for a while. Like so much stuff is insta love or they end up together really quickly, and I'm also in the romance brain, so it's always gonna be like they fall in love after 3 days and then they get married. Like that's the vibe of so many books, and it's always concluded in the book. And there is fantasy series in here that I could pick up and deal with the slow burn romance, but again, it just slowly freaking kills you. But the way that we got to see more of the underworld and see Persephone developing again and growing more as a character, and her friendship with Eros, I think that's his name, is really great. Like I love how protective her little circle of friends are of her, and the way that Hades is just trying to like not be near her, but he's just obsessed with her so deeply. And I'm excited to see where the next book is going to go because we have to wait until freaking June or July one of the two, and I just need more of the story. And I know I could read it online, but I just love the way that the bind up is just, it's so pretty. Like the artwork and everything about it is just so pretty, and it makes me so happy. Then I finally got to Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and this is a book that I've been excited for like more than a year, and then it came out a few months ago, and I'm just glad I got it in there in 2022 because I didn't want to have to wait longer, just like with the American Roommate Experiment, because I don't know when I'm going to read that book. Like I know I need to, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. But this book, I have seen so many people not like it, and that made me scared to go into the book. But the thing is I don't care that it was the exact same thing as the first one, because I love the way that she writes these characters. Like Levi and Bea are still their own people. Like obviously Levi and Adam are both massive giant men, and they're very brooding, and they don't express their feelings, and they meet a woman and instantly look at them, get attached to them, and never date anyone ever in the history of their whole lives. They're done for. Like these men that are just so captivated by them. But then again, it's also two women that don't date for reasons. It is the exact same thing. This one was Hate to Love. Love Hypothesis was fake dating. But I just cared so deeply for the way that it was such a big misunderstanding, and I was honestly thinking like, damn, how is Levi gonna come back from why she hates him so much? But it was just beautifully done, it beautifully developed. I am just obsessed, and this has made me very excited for Love Theoretically, because it will be a big ass brooding dude and a woman who actually gets men to pay her to date them, so I think that's going to be highly intriguing. Then I read Not My Type by Evie Mitchell, so I've started to get into my books that I need to read for Rare in Melbourne in April. Forgot when it is, but I have about 20 books that I need to read. I've uploaded that video about my Rare TBR that hopefully I can start reading, so hopefully the motivation of holy shit, I'm going to meet these authors, so I need to read these books, will help me read more in at least the first 4 months of the year. But I actually listened to this on audio because it was only a 5-hour audiobook, so this is why I was able to read this book so quickly, because I had to do a couple of long drives and it helped me get through it. But I really liked this. I don't know really what I was expecting, and I do think like with the size of the book there could have been more development of these characters and getting to know them more, and a lot of it was about the sex, but obviously she's a sexologist and she's learning rope play, so it makes sense that it does involve that a lot. But I just feel like I wanted more depth. But there is some scenes where Jay does some pretty heroic things that are just really beautiful, and Frankie is such an amazing person that even though she is in a wheelchair and it has impacted her life, it hasn't stopped her from achieving so much. Like she's done more than I've done. I've done nothing, and I'm just in awe of her. Like the way that she has her PhD, she has the podcast, she's winning awards, she's doing things that are amazing, and I just loved her character so much, and she's just so amazing. Like I love that her hair is pink and it matches her wheelchair and she has a vibe. And then for the Magical Readathon TBR, I picked 2 books and I only managed to read one of them, and that was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. And this is a book I've been wanting to read since, honestly, I saw it in Heartstopper and Isaac was reading it, and I'm like, if Isaac likes it, am I gonna like it? And I really did. I've been intrigued, and I was able to buy this book, and then I bought the rest of the trilogy, and I plan on finishing the trilogy in the new year. There was no way it was going to fit in beforehand because they're still kind of thick books, but I thought this was a really good mystery. Pippa is a really good detective, and it definitely gave me Truly Devious vibes for how well that she was able to like put together all this information, and she was picking up on hints and finding out different things that it's like, why don't the police delve into this shit with these type of stories? Because a girl was able to find it through Facebook stalking and talking to people and all this stuff, and it's like, don't the police deal with this? Like I know they thought it was a suicide, but they should still look into more things and know that sometimes that isn't the case of why people die. Like it irritates me that sometimes it's like these inexperienced people are able to figure it out, but they're also overly more smart than they should be. But I truly thought this was a great mystery, and even though at the end when it started to get monologue-y and then when you realized who it was kind of like, it's slightly underwhelming. But I also thought like one part of the mystery was really good and the other part was kind of like, that's that's where it's fallen. But I didn't pick it at all, but there was like an inkling of something that I was thinking about, but it was more about a place and not about the characters per se. And another thing that I thought was really interesting is there was no romance until like right at the end. Like, it was not even something that was talked about or mentioned. You know how all the books always have it, that when it's a girl and a guy and they meet each other and then it's like, ooh, and then I blushed and ooh, I started to think about him differently. Like, they didn't talk about it at all, and then it was just like they were together, you know, like it was just nothing about it. And I know that's hopefully not a spoiler. Like, I'm just saying that, like, if you want a book that's got no romance, there is nothing that they really care about in this book. And I think in the next books there'll probably be more about it, but it's like already a formed couple. It's a beautiful way to tell a story, and I just thought it was really refreshing. And then I decided to reread The Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood, because after like The Love on the Brain crushed me in the best way, I was like, I need Adam in my life. Like, Olive's great, and I honestly thought that she was such a timid character, but on reread she's actually pretty well out there in a sense. She would be able to just make conversations with people. She was chatty, she was funny, and like obviously she hated public speaking, which is like, who actively likes public speaking? But I just really appreciate this story so much, and I know that this is a book that everyone gave 5 stars to and they loved it so completely, and I just loved it so much. Like, Adam is such a great character, the way that the romance developed, and just knowing how much he would have been freaking the absolute fuck out when she kissed him in that hallway and his dreams would have been made true. It just makes me so happy. And it's about fake dating. It's one of my favorite things. It's about science, and they're just being cute. It's all you need. Okay, then I listened to Love Flush by Evie Mitchell, and this was book 2 in the All Access series, and this audiobook was like less than 5 hours, so another quick one. And with my issues with the first one being that there was no development of the characters, this book did not have that, because Annie and Link were already fully fledged characters in the background of the first book, so we got to understand why they weren't together anymore and why there was kind of issues between them. So coming into this book and then actually getting their own opinions on why they ended up not being together, because they were high school sweethearts and then they've broken up and they've always had this tension between them, so it's a second chance romance. I've honestly decided that second chance romances are becoming in my like top 5 favorite romance tropes in general, because it's just so great that these people that know each other 100% are able to fall out of love with each other but then relearn each other. Like, it's such a beautiful concept and story, and I liked that the disability representation really told me a lot about stuff that I didn't know about. Evie Mitchell writes in such an informative way that it actually actively helps me learn about things that you shouldn't say to people with a chronic illness and things that I never would have thought about, because I don't have anything wrong with me, so I've never had to go through anything that's gonna like really actively give me trauma in my life. It's really good to read stories that give you more of an understanding of how bad things can be for people. But also Annie is another character that she gets shit done. She owns a toilet paper company. She's a boss-ass businesswoman, and again, I'm sitting here like, what have I done? Absolutely nothing. These women are literal gold. I just can't wait for the other 2 to come out, and I kind of hope that they come out before Rare, but Evie Mitchell was having a bit of trouble with her own issues, so that she hasn't released the 3rd one, but I have pre-ordered the next 2, so I'll see how it goes. But absolutely love these books, and I'm so glad I finally decided to pick them up, and I'm so glad for Rare for giving me authors that I'm really like now, because it's what I wanted. And lastly, for the Hemisphere Christmas games, I read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. So this is the last book that I read, and oh my god, it felt like it took me so long to finish this book, because it's like 250 pages and it took me the whole week of the readathon. I was so sad at myself that I couldn't have read 53 or 54 books of the year. I just got there, gave up basically. This is another small book, but it definitely developed the characters a lot more than Not My Type did. Stella and Aiden are actively made for each other, and it's also a grumpy character who is a woman and the sunshine character of a man, which is odd for Tessa Bailey because she always writes these domineering like men, like they're cavemen, and I don't like them ever. There are some that is better than others, but a lot of the time it's like, get off the page, man. I don't want to know about why you think you're better than the women. Like, even though they're good men, they're just like, they're not. I actively loved Aiden. He was such a softie, and yes, he's like, oh, I'm softie, but I'm gonna fucking dominate you in the sheets, which is like, calm down. But I really appreciated this story so much, as I said, and it's Christmassy. The Christmas vibes were 100% there, and I like that it also is about a person that was in prison for 4 years, and she's dealing with like how she's coming back into her life and really having to relearn the world. And like it talked about COVID and quarantine, like there were so many things to relate to. Even all the like references of geekiness was really good. Like I just had a really good time with this story. I really enjoyed it. But yes, this is all of the books that I read, and again, contemporaries make for the most beautiful spines. Like obsessed, like every time. But anyway guys, that is all for today's wrap up. Again, this is like a high point for me because I think there was a month earlier on that I managed to read like 8 books as well, so it's happened twice this year and I'm just so happy that it did. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed all of your books, and did you meet all of your end of year goals? I hope you have. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.